Before we go anywhere else, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers has issued their action alert. Guys, make sure you go and you send these emails. It takes about 30 seconds to do this. Get your wife to do it. Send it on behalf of your kids. We need numbers and we need to use these action alerts because they actually quantify. They're very, very good at recording how many of these emails go through and go out to our legislators. And that is excellent data that we can gather to figure out who is responding and who is trying to help us, as well as excellent ammunition to use before the legislature when we can show how many people are upset about this and want to see changes. So go to the link, it's down in the description, and go send those emails. All right, this is Anglers Rights Alliance Week 5, and if you're just joining us, the fisheries management system in North Carolina is really not working out for anybody, whether you're recreational or commercial. What I am here to do is to try to make that make sense for everybody, to show people what is really going on, how these decisions are actually being made, who is influencing them, and most importantly, what you can do to help fix it. So this week, again, for anybody that has reached out, thank you so much. If you do not yet have specific support for the big three, and the big three being number 1, an inshore trawl ban in North Carolina. Number 2, a merging of the Wildlife Resources Commission and the Marine Fisheries Commission. And then number 3 is coastal license reform. If you do not have a specific agreement to support this in the form of a bill when the long session starts next year, continue to press your local legislators. Call them once a week or email them once a week at least. Just set a reminder in your phone and do it. We have to keep up the steady pressure or we're not going to get these changes pushed through, okay? The legislators are starting to wake up to this and see how much of a big issue it is, but we need more people to reach out. So if you're one of those people who has reached out, get your wife to reach out. Get your coworkers, anybody that you know that is into fishing, get those people to reach out to their legislators and tell them that North Carolina needs change in its fisheries management system. All right, before I go anywhere, there's a picture that I used in last week's video. Guys, this was not meant to represent a specific individual at all. This gentleman, he's a commercial fisherman, reached out to me. We had about a 3-hour-long phone conversation. And any other commercial fisherman, by the way, if anybody feels like what I'm saying is somehow inaccurate, you'd like to argue this with me, or you would like to be a part of one of the YouTube videos to get your side of the story out there, please feel free to contact me. So the entire intent of the last video, and if you're just joining us and you haven't seen The Truth About Flounder and a number of the videos since then, you really need to see those to put this into context. It is not commercial versus recreational. So the last video may have made it seem like that quite a bit because I do feel like there was a lot of disparity between commercial and recreational, but this is in no way the fault of the commercial fishermen. Of course, again, they're just abiding by the law. But who is making the law? Who is making the management decisions that are failing both sectors right now? And that has been the big concern of all this. So on to today's topic. Clearly in North Carolina, there are simply not enough fish to go around. And the first thing that you really have to look at when we're having a no recreational season, and there's a little bit of a commercial season, obviously we've already talked enough about that disparity, but really what we should focus on is where is the waste coming from, okay? So with the recreational sector, obviously we have dead discards, we catch flounder that we have to return, and some of those fish are gonna die. Our estimate is something like 9% of those fish are gonna die. I'm not here to argue that one way or another. That's just the number they're using. But if we're trying to recover those stocks, then we definitely should be accounting for the dead discards. I don't have any issue with that. But like I said in the last video, there are a number of other sources of mortality, discard mortality, that are happening that the DMF is not accounting for at all. And today we're going to talk about the elephant in the room.
Fisherman Thomas Smith says shrimp trawling in the Pamlico Sound is the only way to keep his business afloat.
Majority of our income comes between July and November while working on inshore waters.
CEO of the NC Wildlife Federation, Tim Geswicki, says he's fine with ocean shrimp trawling, but wants it stopped inshore. Thomas says ocean shrimp trawling is only worthwhile for 2 months a year.
And it would put me out of business.
Thomas says he and other commercial fishermen tried to compromise by agreeing to the NC Division of Marine Fisheries requirement to use bycatch reduction devices, spending $3,000 on nets about 5 years ago to reduce the unintended catch of other species.
And we've done that, and it has helped.
But Tim says it's the opposite.
Juvenile fish are the same size as the shrimp, and they're pushed against the back of the net and towed for 45 minutes up to hours, drowned. And we are the last remaining state in the country that still allows this outdated and destructive practice.
Many commercial fishermen agree with me on this. The waste is absolutely incredible. And we're going to look at a document that characterized the shrimp trawl fishery in North Carolina. Now, mind you, this isn't all the other sources of mortality of waste, but this is absolutely the elephant in the room. This is the Brown study. This is the scientific gold standard for characterizing the North Carolina estuarine and ocean shrimp trawl fisheries. This is the absolute best data that we have ever collected to figure out exactly what the trawls are doing and what their impact is. And as you can see here, Division of Marine Fisheries, Morehead City, North Carolina, this is a DMF document. I am not going to spend a million years just forcing the numbers down your guys' throat. If anybody would like to question my math on my spreadsheet that is over here, I would be more than happy to walk you through how I arrived at these numbers and where I got all the numbers from. And I will admit that the sample sizes are small. So in the estuary, they had a 1.24% coverage. And in the ocean, they had a 3.29% coverage. So again, that's a big point of frustration for a whole lot of people. You think, I've only seen one person from MRIP at the ramp ever. There's no way that these numbers are good. However, if you were to look for 2014, and this is the year I used because this is the year where they had all 4 seasons, so they had the best coverage, so this is the most accurate picture we have of what the trawls are actually doing out there. So, however, if you were to take and you looked at the shrimp, brown, white, and pink, from both the estuary and the ocean trawl fishery, and you add them up, you would get 4,610,000 pounds. If you happen to go and look at the commercial landings recorded by DMF for 2014, so remember that 4,610,000 pounds. If we look at 2014, we have 4,690,000 pounds. So obviously it's not perfect. If anything, it's kind of underestimating where it's actually at. But when we're talking about millions and hundreds of thousands, getting to within tens of thousands of pounds is pretty doggone accurate. It is pretty doggone accurate. So I really do think that even though this is a small sample size, we can absolutely trust this. So back to this, let's get the big picture. If you want some shock value numbers, let's take a look at croaker. Let's take a look at croaker. So 1.24% of the trawl coverage was 2,531,242 fish. If you calculate that out for what the 100% would be, and you can do that by taking E6, which is here, dividing it by C6, which is here, and then multiplying by 100, you get the total value. That total value is 204,132,419 croakers in the estuarian shrimp trawl fishery. If we look at the ocean, there was an additional 23,079,300 of these fish. If we look at weak fish, now weak fish is a species that is considered depleted by the North Carolina DMF, indicating the stock is depleted. So this fishery has absolutely collapsed, and yet we are allowing 18,723,387 of these fish to die just in the estuarian shrimp trawl fishery. If we look at the ocean fishery, there's an additional 1.8 million. But we're here to talk about flounder, and yeah, I will openly admit that there may be other issues with flounder because there are some states where they only really have ocean shrimp trawling. They don't have estuarian shrimp trawling, so there may be some other source of mortality, some kind of environmental issue that is sort of driving some of these southern flounder numbers down. But you cannot tell me, looking at southern flounder numbers from here, from the estuarian fishery, and the southern flounder numbers from the ocean fishery, you cannot tell me when you add this up and get 708,438 fish that this number does not matter, guys. 708,000 fish. And mind you, these fish have already reached, 3 or 4 inches before they're caught in the shrimp trawls, and they're going to have a very high likelihood of surviving to adulthood. So you simply can't tell me that almost 750,000 fish dying every single year does not matter. And that's the really shocking number. But if you add up the weight, we get kind of a funny number here. 158,091 pounds of these little baby flounder. And if you look at the recreational allocation for 2022, 2023, and 2024, we have 159,706 pounds allowed for the recreational fishery, which has been closed because of its discards. And yet we have an equal number discarded in weight, which, mind you, it's far worse in total numbers of fish, but an equal number almost by weight that is discarded and not counted against the commercial quota. So you tell me, are we actually trying to reduce the number of fish that are taken out? Are we actually trying to rebuild this population? Or are we simply trying to keep this gear in the water and protect the commercial fishery? All right, so if we were to look at total numbers of fish, so let's pop up our little calculator here, and really going to give the other side as much credit as possible. And instead of assuming that the average weight of a flounder caught is 3 pounds, we'll say that it's 2 pounds, right? So 159,706 divided by 2 is going to be 79,000 fish. If we remember what was in this other document here, there's roughly 700,000, a little bit more than 700,000 more fish dying in the shrimp trawls that are not being counted against the commercial quota at all. And guys, I'm sorry. I know that this is how people make their money, and this is not like a happy day for me. This is not a good thing to ask people to go out. But when it has gotten this tight, when the recreational fishermen, when the people of North Carolina, more than 1 million people who would like to enjoy our natural resources, have absolutely nothing at all, we simply cannot be allowing a very small group of people to kill 700,000 more fish every single year and not even have it counted against them, simply because it is a business that they run. There is absolutely no sense of equity, no sense of fairness here whatsoever at all. And this reflects in every other part of our fisheries management system. It's not only here. The politics that have brought us to this point are just going to get worse. I will probably show you guys, whether it's in a short or another long video soon, I'll show you guys what the NCFA representatives were saying at the Speckled Trout Advisory Committee meeting. And you will see that it does not end with southern flounder. It is simply going to go species by species, maximizing their catch and leveraging politics in every way that they possibly can until, in my belief, they have completely fished themselves and the people of North Carolina out of anything.